Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to a special edition of the podcast. I want to do something completely off the wall, completely different. Just throw it against the wall, see if anyone Skokie, Illinois Potbelly Pig Association salutes it. With that being said, I hope you guys are having a great week. Thank you for dialing in, whether you're working out, going on the 405, or taking the train to Bed-Stuy. That's a new one. I wanted to do 5 lessons, things that I've learned that can help you or are applicable to you. I don't want to say they can help you, that maybe you could draw some value from over the next 10 minutes based on things that have been physically going on. I know it's a little bit out there, but I wanted to give it a shot. The whole goal, I'm like, all right, when I sat down to do this, I'm like, how can I bring value today? So I got in a little headspace or theory that sometimes, you got a journal update podcast that's good, and sometimes you're like, I'm not feeling it. And so I'm like, well, if I'm not feeling it, let's do something different. And so we're going to jump right into it. So one of the things that is now officially 99.9% done is the channel rebrand. And it turned out great. But one of the things that I've learned when dealing with art or things that need to be highly polished, they always take longer than you think. So kind of the takeaway for me is that anytime you're working with an artist or anytime you're working with something that you want to look aesthetically really, really good and is important, or it feels well, or you, in particular, I think working with an artist, it always takes longer than you think. And I think going in with that mindset, which I adapted over time with the individual working on it, I was okay with it. There was no rush. There's no imminent rush, which I think is not one of the top 5 things I want to share with you, but being patient with everything, knowing that this is a long process, right? I'm doing this forever, not for 5 years or 6 years, right? So I think that helps always to kind of keep it in that context. Second thing I've learned, I think this is maybe one of the biggest battles that I've had, and in terms of battles, I'm saying very very minimal. It's nothing life-threatening or anything like that, but just a battle. And one of the things that I've learned, and I think I know, and it's one of those things where what's good for you, just got to do it, forehead. And it's, to me, it's that sleep is so important, and almost equally as important, if not more, is the schedule that you're on. And I've talked in the past about the thing that detracts me, that throws a monkey wrench into everything, is Team Unity Tuesday. It just, that night, normally I'm in bed 10:30, latest 11, dialed in, ready to go work out the next morning. But Team Unity Tuesday, I always stay up later. I always, I'm charged up. And so I'm putting a ton of focus on wrapping, playing with the guys at 11 and getting the post show done at the latest 11:30, and being okay with that, and knowing that, hey, the next morning you still got to get up at the same time. You may feel a little bit sauced, but you got to do it. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I think sleep is gold is something that I know, but from this point forward, it's got to be, I got to refer back to that. And I think I think there's like whatever the opposite of a stigma is, it's celebrated that you don't sleep, and I don't think that's like, oh, I stayed up all late night work and I'm grinding. But it's like, if the next day you're toast, which in some cases I am, or I wake up late, it's not like a 1 to +1 +2 net gain. I feel so very different about that now. And just based on how I feel in the production. So sleep is gold. Next thing is, and this is also something kind of like forehead, something I'm self-aware of, but also kind of got pounded home this past week, is I realize I'm best when I'm with others in terms of producing content. Had a stream with Deadly Slob and the interview with Edmund McMillan. I know it's better content. I know you get way more out of it when I'm with someone else. But the realistic part of it is it's not viable for everything, right? I can't just always do collaborations. I can't just always do interviews. Technically, I could always do interviews, but what it does, it forces me to try and get better and better with solo, while continuing to sprinkle in the stuff that people really, really like, and the stuff that I think I'm better. I think I'm way better at playing off of someone, way better at getting someone to tell stories than I am that in my own way. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. I say that in a self-aware way. Self-aware way. Is that self-aware? Yeah, self-aware way. And so I think that's something that, I'm focused on. And I think what really more than anything, because I always work on my solo stuff, I think really more than anything, what it's this past week has made me realize is to put way more of a stronger effort in collaborating with others. And to me, all that is outreach and organization. I think, having done this for 6+ years, it's funny. You look back at kind of the people and the people that you've met and friends that you are. There's no real roadblock into me getting great people on the show to interview. It's not. It's just a matter of me reaching out and scheduling it and taking it from there. So both on that and the YouTube and the Twitch collaboration side, podcast, Twitch, and YouTube is a focus. But I'm trying to. The best takeaway for this is do something and listen to the feedback. I did the podcast with Edmund, and it's got to be probably the most positively responded podcast I've ever done in terms of saying, hey, this is great. Hey, you should do more of this. Hey, you should interview more people. Not that it hasn't been like it before, but I feel like this has been the most overwhelming wave of that feedback. So kind of the takeaway from this for you listening is do something and then listen to the feedback, right? And whether it's internal feedback, oh, this felt right, or it felt good, or this, it doesn't. And I don't want this to be a preachy podcast, because that's not ever the goal of it. It's just, this is what I did, this is the reaction, this is what I learned. Hopefully you learn something from that, or maybe you can take something from that. And that happens to me all the time. I was watching the show. There's a few shows I watch. One show I watch is This Is Us, and I watched an episode this past week where this dude, long story short, he's a Vietnam War vet, ran into some problems, got sick, and I don't want to spoil anything, but long story short, he said something pretty profound. He was kind of a loner and isolated himself, and he said, when I was at my most sick, or when I needed, to get better, the best way to do that was when with other people. And for whatever, that wasn't the point of the episode, and that wasn't what they were trying to hammer home. Like, there was a bunch of themes in it, but just hearing that kind of struck a different light with me. And so that's what I kind of hope for the podcast, not to have a multi-million-dollar produced show, but, that I'm sharing something with you that you may take something or get value from, something that you may be surprised with or not intended, right? That you may hear something that reminds you, oh, this is what I should do, or whatever. That's in particular, the goal of the podcast, but in particular this one. Another one, I've learned the past week, I've just been posting stuff, I don't want to say aggressively, but without thinking anymore, right? So I'm just kind of sending stuff. It's better to post a decent Instagram photo or a pretty good Instagram video than not posting at all. So I've been way less waiting and just post and go and just going. And that's been helpful. It's end of the day, it's for what I look at in terms of in the little bucket of everything I do gaming wise. One of the buckets is distribution, and the way to do that and to grow that is to post more stuff, because you never know what resonates. So that's something that's kind of one of those light bulbs that have gone off in my head. And the last thing that's been super important to me over this is in the past 7 days, but the past couple months is I've noticed, and I'm not diligent with it, but the weeks or days I plan the night before, the next day is wildly more productive than when I just wing it. And when I say wing it, I just kind of run from like fire to fire, or thing that has to be done to thing that has to be done, which is still effective in its own right. But the days when I can be a little bit more thoughtful, I feel like more than anything, by planning it the day before, it removes a lot of distractions. And what I do is I'll have like 3 columns, and I'll just, as things come up that need to be done, I'll write it under the column. The column might be YouTube or Twitch or podcast or whatever, and just kind of work at it from there, as opposed to not really having a roadmap to work off of, just going off memory, like, oh, hey, this Medium article needs to be posted that I forgot about, that I got a message from someone on the writing team. It's just kind of running around versus kind of having a plan. And while I feel good doing both, I know it's more sustainable and I can be way more effective by planning things down, and it just helps to remove a lot of distractions as well. And so for me, I think out of all these things, that's what I'm focused on the most, because I think it allows all the other dominoes to fall. So if I'm going to pick on one of these 5 things to work on, it's planning the day ahead and sticking to it. And you may pick another one of these things. You may not pick one at all. You may go out of left field. But these are the 5 things that have kind of been reverberating, in my head in terms of things I've done that I've learned from, that I wanted to share with you in 10 minutes or less. We've gone over the 10-minute mark, but if we take away the intro, maybe, just maybe, we got under 10. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This was a completely off-the-wall idea, and it's something way different than what we normally do. But I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some value from it. And as always, I'll see you guys next week. Hope you enjoy all the mini podcasts this week. The Twitch shows live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, twitch.tv/Gheesling, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you've never checked out a show or haven't been around in a while, come on by twitch.tv/Gheesling. And I will see you guys soon. Have a great week.